So yeah, talk to us, bro. Tell us about Daath Path.
Daath Path, wicked. Daath Path. Firstly, the name, what does it mean? Daath means knowledge. It comes from the Hebrew word meaning knowledge or gnosis. You'll notice it comes from the Kabbalah. Kabbalah is called the Tree of Life. And there's a Sifra just below, I can't forget the name of the top Sifra, but there's a Sifra that's shown always in a dotted line or hidden. And that's what Daath is. Daath is the gateway to the other side of the tree, or the Kalipoth. Kalipoth is known as the tree of death. Why death? Because in spirituality, death is transformation. It's not the end of life. It's not the end of that energy signal or frequency. It's just a transformation into another state, into another dimension, into another whatever. But you go through the gateway of darkness. Out of darkness comes the light. Yeah. Out of the unseen comes the seen. And that's what Daath represents. Daath represents the path of knowledge, of finding oneself, knowledge of self. But in order to find oneself, you have to go within. You have to go into the darkness to draw out your own light. So yeah, that's what Daath Path represents.
Straight away, what comes to mind?
Go on.
Star Wars.
Yes, because that's exactly where it comes from. Darth Vader is, let alone played by a black man. So the symbology of that is he represents melanin. He represents the chaos, which is why he's the one that constructs the Death Star. Remember I said death is a process of transformation.
And melanated people in history have never really been afraid of death. They've learned to understand.
Correct. Because our ancient knowledge teaches us that we were before, and therefore we will be after. We are the Alpha and Omega civilization.
In terms of what you're doing, what's been your journey?
Okay, so what I'm doing, Daath Path, ultimately it's a demonstration of a way of life. Yeah, it's not some sort of religion. It's not something where I'm looking for fans and followers. It's purely about, for those that are on the spiritual path, true knowledge of self, finding yourself outside of orthodox religion. What was happening with us as a people before those religions became so prominent in our culture and our society. If you're on that trip, Daath Path is a demonstration of someone who's found an avenue that suits them and has been able to take it to the degree where I'm now able to freely talk about it, teach it more shared experience. This is what I found, and if you're following these certain principles, this is where I've ended up. Yeah, the key slogan for the Daath Path is knowledge, power, and self-revelation. 3 paths to be walked as one. You see the logo that I got back on my hoodie. The way the logo is set out is symbolic of the spiritual development and transformation process, where it starts with knowledge. It starts with the awareness of coming to certain forms of information. Then it comes into transforming and internalizing that information for yourself. So then it becomes power, i.e., cool, I've got a fishing rod, knowledge, but in terms of using that fishing rod for the river that I'm fishing in order to sustain and feed myself, it's become power. I've been able to take that knowledge from my own personal situation and circumstance and make it work for me. Yeah? And then the next step after you get power is you begin to experience what I call self-revelation moments. Self-revelation moments are, how's it best to describe? Moments of spiritual inspiration that come only when one has done the work to truly understand a certain facet of themselves. So I'll give you an example. My spiritual journey has been heavily linked to Kemetic science, the spiritual system that come out of Egypt. Funny enough, I use something I spoke about recently. I use the Netaru, or the principle of nature, or what you would know as God, Ptah as an example. You got Ptah, meaning is a principle of creation, of bringing things into being from the higher mind into physical form. You notice the Oscars, the figurine that they give in the Oscars, that is Ptah. If you think about what films are about presenting, conveying a vision and presenting a message onto people. Yeah, so bringing forth from the mind into a physical reality, but the principle of being able to manifest. So, cool, you understand what Ptah means. How does Ptah become powerful to you? You observe Ptah as yourself, as an element of yourself, not as something external outside of you to be worshipped or to be given praise or to given your energy to. It's a description of a facet of your soul. We all have the ability to manifest things, to take things from thought and bring it into being. Anything that you wish to create a chair, it first has to be formed in the mind, about what a chair might look like. And then you go through the process of how do I go about bringing that into fruition. Yeah? That's the principle of Ptah. So now you're taking it from an abstract concept that sounds holier than thou and great and bringing it down to a real level where you can actually use it. So when you recognize yourself as operating in the manner and the concept of Ptah, when you see the image and the symbol on the walls and how it's reflected in the text, it takes on a deeper meaning than just feeding the ego that, yeah, Egyptians were black, Kemets were black, and this is what we were on, and this is the stuff that was before Jesus, for example. And people stop there. The next step is to go through a process of self-analysis in relation to that concept and measuring oneself against that concept and being honest with yourself to say, I understand what the concept is, but I'm not yet in its application. Fine. I understand where I am, and you continue to do the work in relation to that concept in order to be able to achieve it or to manifest what that concept was talking about. That was the purpose of our mystery schools.
There was people beyond this planet as well that they communicated with,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Which is, obviously, we're only focused on Earth. But you're like, wait till you start going up.
Yeah. But, my opinion, in order to go up, you got to go in. You got to go in to go out.
It's like Ant-Man.
Yeah. So funny enough, I haven't even seen all of that film, but I understand the concept of where it's come from.
Someone was explaining it to me recently about the going in.
Yeah.
And when you go in deep enough, you can become like Ant-Man, where you go into your cellular form and you start looking into your own constructs. And
Yeah.
you can go back out and be like, oh,
yeah,
I healed myself in a certain way because I understood how my different body parts worked and how it aligned with nature.
Yeah. Exactly. So that in itself is a big part of comedic science. You use the seen to infer the unseen. Yeah. So you observe the natural order of things, the repetitions, the cycles, how it impacts your environment, and then what the ancestors used to do is say, okay, I noticed that the Nile floods at a particular time when this particular star, Sophis or Sirius, comes onto the horizon. So new life is being formed. Cool, that's the new year. Because we know that water is the substance which brings things from the spiritual world into the physical world. You come through your mother's waters. The first thing that busts before you come here, you must come through the waters. They called it, even in the Bible, they said, what they say, God separated the waters from the heavens. So you've got the water down here and you've got the celestial waters. Water is the medium through which things transmute and translate from the physical world into the spiritual world.
Where was the beginning for you? Where was that moment where it started? You made the conscious choice to be like, yo, I need to actually go in or start the work.
And after that, how do you function?
Yeah, I was coming, bro.
How do you function within society?
I hear you. That's a good question, and also part of why I'm doing Daath. It's to demonstrate that. It's to show that. I can tell you the moment that caused me to change. I know I mentioned I won't talk about my kids, but I kind of have to a little bit. The true awakening moment for me was when I was going to have my first child, and I began to look at myself and say, okay, I'm bringing a child into this world now. What do I have to offer? And then I started to think about some of the things that I had questions on that I couldn't get answers from those that come before me. They didn't know, I didn't have the information. I said, well, I want to be able to tell my children the truth, but I honestly don't know what that is. And then what I did is that I went through a process of saying, okay, if I'm gonna bring another life form into this world, I'm not gonna tell it nothing that I haven't been able to prove to myself. And I don't know these answers, so I'm trying to find it. And I had to get quite emotional and honest with myself, break down and understand who I truly was. Not the person that I chose to see when I looked in the mirror, but who I actually was as a man and as a person, and what am I doing here? And it's only by continually, when I say meditating, I don't mean sitting there in lotus position and meditating. I'm talking throughout your everyday life, in the back of your mind, you're constantly pondering, asking, and then you put thoughts into action. You go and find the information. Is it in a book? Is it online? Is it in lectures? And I became a bookworm. I was reading and studying from sun up, sun down, after work, on the train, because the only thing that mattered to me was finding out the truth about who I was and where I come from. And it's only when you truly wish to know that you are given the answers. Because the knowledge of self isn't about wanting to know to have power, fuck someone up, or to have dominance over this person and that person. Because then the universe will recognize this is just the ego talking. I need you to go through a process of refinement to prove thyself worthy of this information that's coming. So you have to go through a suffering. You have to go through a metamorphosis, a phase of difficulty and change and strife and struggle to really sift out, is this what you really want? Is this what you truly want to know? In hindsight, what I realized I was doing was preparing my heart for the information. Because you can't plant seed on concrete. You have to till the side. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You have to make sure the ground is fertile. So you've got to go through a process of what they call husbandry, which is working the earth and working the soil to make it, put it in a position in order for the seeds to be cultivated, so you can begin to receive the messages. So I've gone around a long-winded way to say,
don't overthink that one.
To basically say that for the sake of me becoming a father, I had to go and find myself. And that triggering moment is different for everybody. Some people don't even have the inclination of wanting to know. But those that do, we're not talking about this, but for those that do, it was purely, I want to know, and I'm going to go out and search the information.
I relate, bro, because I'm in that space now.
Yeah.
Finding.
Yeah.
Research.
Yeah.
Not because you get a taste and you're like, oh, there must be more.
There's more.
And then you go more and more, and everything's just.
Funny enough, I'll tell you. I'll tell you how I even came up with self-revelation moment. Yeah, because this is what happened to me. So I've gone through that whole process of reading, learning, finding out all this information. I'm on the train home. From work. Music on. Train is kind of packed. There's noises around. Music on. Inner my thing, ready to go on. And I heard a voice as clear as day, like I'm talking to you now. And it said to me, have I not answered you? And I went like this, bro. And I went, what? I said, you said something to me. No, people looking at me like, and I put my headphones back on. I was like, I know I heard that. And it's only when I got off the train, it hit me. That was the answer. All the things that you've been reading about, all the things that you aspire to, and you hear about hearing the voice of God and all them sort of things there. What I realized was, when you go through a process of study and self-reflection, you clear your channels in order to be able to receive information. The sound that I heard was energy coming from my medulla oblongata, which is called the mouth of God. The medulla oblongata is, for those that don't know, is an organ in the body which is the largest concentration of neuromelanin in the body, which is at the back of the top of the spine, base of the skull, here, medulla oblongata. It's a little cone-shaped thing. And when you raise your kundalini energy up the spine, that little cap pops open like a mouth. And it's then that you begin to people call it hearing voices, hearing spirits of hearing moments of inspiration. That is you drawing from the unseen into the seen, drawing in from the ether, which melanin allows you to do, for a piece of information that you need in that particular moment in time. Which is why most people always hear it sounds like someone's talking behind you, or you turn around because it's there, and that's where the voice comes in. In the Bible, it says, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by the word that proceeded from the mouth of God." The mouth of God is the medulla oblongata. So it's saying no. Physical food and nourishment isn't it. The nourishment that's going to sustain you is by the word that proceeded from the mouth of God, the spiritual information, the word, the frequency, the vibration that your body is able to pick up from the spiritual antenna. So that is what made me realize this stuff works. You put in the work with the right level of heart, with the right integrity. It's for the pursuit of knowledge alone, not for anything else, just for because you want to know. Go on.
So if someone to backtrack,
Yeah, go ahead.
If someone asked you who are you,
Yeah,
because you've done all the self work,
yeah,
how would you now answer that today?
I am. And I've not said that to like be arrogant towards you or anything like that. The reason why I've said that is because when you go through understanding the concept of you, I, self, ego, the inner you realise that any title to give yourself other than I am is to misname yourself, because you are a fragment of the supreme consciousness. You are a fragment of the supreme energy, the thing that exists out of time. The absolute, no, not even the absolute. It's the nothingness, because only out of the nothingness do you get the absolute. Drop some science on you now.
Everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah.
When you label it, that's like a blockage.
You
So
just
I
are.
am is
It's
it's
just
it in its
it just
entirety.
is.
Yes. So I'll give you the science behind why I say that as well, because part of the spiritual science is about transformation, internal transformation. The reason why I said I am is because by me saying that, I've said something, myself is listening. The inner me is listening when I project my words when I speak. So when I identify myself as I am, I'm purposely employing a piece of mind control and mental manipulation upon myself, because the ego straight away wanted to tell you my name, bro.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you something near my which part I come from. Yeah? But I've gone for a process of training. You acknowledge that for what it is. You can't ignore it. Everyone has it. You quieten that down, and you understand you come from beyond what you've been named here physically. So who I am? I am. Then I can go into, they call me Honourebel, because on this particular time and fragment of space and time, on this particular planet that I'm on, that's how I've manifested.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because when I hear that, it just sounds like an admittance of you knowing but not knowing.
Yeah.
And you knowing and not knowing, it's like, how can I label this? I don't know what this is, but I'm aware that this is bigger than me. So if I label it, I'm actually making it smaller.
Yeah.
When really it's bigger than me.
Yes. How I circumvent that how do I describe it? That mental challenge obstacle is the principle of order, or say Ada. Because with order, I'm able to correctly reconcile myself to my proper place. I understand that I don't know, and that I seek to know. And I understand that by acknowledging and working in that position, you proved ourselves worthy to know. There's a reason why all spiritual monks or whatever go through a certain process, they act in a particular way, in that sense of humbleness. People take it on as being meek and the humble and the meek shall inherit the earth and all them things. No, what they are doing is, again, spiritual science. It's a manipulation of the psyche. I choose to cast off things that my physical self is telling me I need to hold on to as value, and choose a life of sanctity. Not because I'm trying to be holier than thou, it's because I'm not trying to come back here again. I'm trying to understand myself before I leave, so that I don't have to come back here and redo it again to relearn myself, the process of reincarnation. I'm trying to get off the ship because I understand I've been doing this a long time and I just don't remember. But when I detach myself, you learn to, the people who used to do this with the Christianity before, it's known as Christianity, it's called Gnosticism. The Gnostics is what the whole Spanish Inquisition and the Crusades were all about. It's about removing the original Coptic Christian understanding, that which came immediately after Egypt fell. The science, the Kemetic science, went into what you know as Coptic Christianity, and they kept it and preserved it and concealed it. Because the Gnostics were the one that was telling you that in order to be Christ-like, you can't hold on to this. In order to be Christ-like, because there's someone being called Jesus Christ as a physical, external person. Were there people in the past with the characteristics of the person described in the Bible, Jesus Christ? Yes, 100%. More than one. But that one person that they describe in that text, no, it's not true. It's the actions attributed to that person is all illusory. It's all metaphorical. Yeah? So, Christ is a title. It's not a person. Christ means to be anointed. It's actually the Greek word for oil. The reason why oil, why anointed? Let's stick on Christ for a minute. Why anointed? Why oil? It's because your pineal gland, in the center of your brain, when you increase your consciousness and awareness, your kinetic energy for your spinal cords, and it hits up into the brain, it goes into the pineal gland, it secretes a golden liquid known as, I think they call it ovum, actually. Yeah, a golden liquid, which is why they say in the Bible, I'll lead you to a land of milk and honey. The milk comes from the hypothalamus gland. That same gland that sits just behind the pineal gland produces a milky white substance. Pineal gland produces a golden yellow substance. The land of milk and honey is here. This is in the center of the brain. It's the crown chakra. It's where the Christ energy is. Yeah. So when to be anointed with oil, the metaphysical meaning is to raise one's energy up and to anoint yourself with oil, the oil that comes from your pineal gland, the Christ.
All this talk about land, and we forget
Mm-hmm.
the main land.
Yeah, the main land.
What we carry still.
Yeah, the land on which the temple was built. This is Solomon's temple.